Today, like I said, we are in Unit 4, the Ancient Roman Civilizations, and today we are going to be doing Julius Caesar, great fighter, great writer. That's where we're going to start off. So before we get into it too much, how many of you have ever even heard of Julius Caesar before? Fabulous. So, and maybe a quarter of you have at least heard of him. Ground. At least a quarter of you have heard of Julius Caesar. Even if you don't know what he does, I don't know a ton about him, but I know a little bit. And today and tomorrow, we're going to be filled with a wealth of knowledge about Julius Caesar. So our title of today is called Great Fighter, Great Writer. What do you think they mean by great fighter? Joey.
That he was a great fighter?
He's a great fighter. So if you're good at fighting, what can you predict, especially in ancient Roman times? Grayson. He was probably pretty strong. Good. Yes.
He either fought in a war or the Colosseum.
He could have fought in the war, or I like your thinking there, the Colosseum, because we know that different types of people living in are doing those things, right? Yes.
Kind of like the book just said, but a piece with a gladiator.
Possibly that gladiator piece. Good. So that's going to be the Colosseum. Nice. Yes?
Maybe he was an important warrior in all the wars.
A very important warrior in the wars. Now, with that, though, Julius Caesar, great writer. When we hear that about someone, what do we know about, what do we assume, or what do we learn about them knowing great writer? Brock.
They're great at writing.
Great at writing. Good. But with that, what do we know about someone who might be great at writing? If we call them great at writing. Viola. He could write a lot. He could be sending a lot of letters. He could be sending a lot of writing out. Chloe, what else?
He might have
Written or wrote.
a bunch of books for people.
He could have written books. Good. Yes, Emery.
He could have written like a lot of he might be
A what?
an artist.
Maybe an artist. Okay. Cooper?
He could possibly be an author.
Okay. An author, possibly. Now, someone who is a really good writer, like let's think of it this way. A good writer, right? Who would be the better writer? A plebeian or a patrician?
Patrician.
Why? Why? Kyler, why?
Because they're rich.
Because they're rich? Why does that matter? Especially back in Roman times. Ray.
Because I think they were taught more how to write, and were taught more how to write in Latin, because the plebeians weren't taught really at all, because they were working for the patricians, and the patricians were teaching the other kids how to write in Latin, and the plebeians didn't really get to do it.
So we go good, making that connection. The patricians were doing all this, right? They were learning all of this. Were the plebeians getting that?
No.
So this had to have been, in order to be the writer, the one who's learning all of this, they had to be pretty educated, right? We are going to be reading a lot about Julius Caesar over today and tomorrow. We are going to start today by going over our vocabulary and what we're going to do. So, but the first thing I want to show you is going to be what you guys are going to, something you've seen many, many times by now. And it's going to be our note-taking piece to today's reading. Let me get there. We have a note-taking piece. So today we're really working on comparing two texts. We're going to compare Julius Caesar, a great fighter, a great writer. And we're also going to compare Julius Caesar. One is going to be your reading piece. One is your read aloud. Sound good? As we go through this today, it's going to be note-taking. Now, I talked to Miss Scholes about this yesterday too. When we're taking notes, this is not a complete sentence, copy word for word from the book. It's abbreviated. It's quick notes. So if you hear he's a great writer, if that's a main point to what you just read, great writer. So you have to put, not Julius Caesar was the greatest writer of all time. I don't know if that's what the book says, but you wouldn't write word for word what it says. Note-taking is quick snippets. You're not copying word for word from your book and writing down full sentences, okay? Just quick snippets. I want it to be organized. Some of you have really struggled with that piece. I showed you last week how someone had written a nice line, and then after they finished their important fact, they drew a line to separate it from the next one. You're going to have to write kind of small, right? I have some people who get 2 ideas down and they filled up the whole page. Is that going to fly? Probably not going to work. You, in your reading today, are going to focus on just part 1. You'll do part 2 during the read aloud. Our purpose today of this is to find main ideas that we hear, important details, and write them down. And afterwards, we're going to see what was the same. We're going to draw those lines between, oh, yeah, I heard that here, and I heard that here, and we're going to connect those ideas. Are there going to be things that are unique to one and not the other?
Yes.
Definitely. And that's okay. But if we hear something more than once, it probably lets us know it's pretty important, pretty special. Okay? This is your job today as we go through our reading. You can find this on page 85. What page?
85.
You may turn to it as I get our vocabulary set up. Page 85. We're going to jump into our vocabulary.